welcome back to the YouTube channel. This week I decided to do something a little bit different. I wanted to do a Q&A. I don't want to do vlogs every week because I don't want it to get redundant. So I'm going to do a Q&A this week, which I'm really excited about. If you're not following me on Instagram, if you're new here, go head over to my Instagram. I often do Q&As, but I also post a lot of fun content on there. I asked you guys over on Instagram to ask some questions that you're curious about. Whether it was Disney or non-Disney related, because I do a lot of Disney content over my Instagram, and y'all asked some really fun questions, so I'm excited to answer them. We're gonna get right into it. All right, so I got this question a couple of times. It was, how did you and your husband meet? So if you didn't know, I am married, and I've been married for 2 years to my husband, Richie. The story of how we met is actually really fun. I like to share it because I think it's cute. Of course, it's our story, so I think it is cute. We both went to junior college, and when you're in junior college, oftentimes when a class is in session, a lot of people are waiting in the hallways for their class to go into. So I was waiting for my class. Richie was in the classroom where my class was going to be, but he had a different class in there. I said class like 5 times, sorry. He walked out of the classroom and I was walking in, and I kind of was like, ooh, he's kind of cute. Let me turn around and get a second look. And he has told me that he had kind of the same idea when he passed me, like, oh, she's cute. Let me, turn around again. And we both happened to make eye contact. We gave the little smile, smirk, whatever. That was the end of it. Never saw him at school again. And then at the time, we were both working at Knott's Berry Farm, which is a theme park here in Orange County. And I had never been to Knott's Scary Farm, which is when they have the monsters during the Halloween time. And he was working there as a security guard. And I was working there as merchandise, but I was really nervous to work the event. I had never even been to Scary Farm before, so I was like, I told my friends, I'm nervous, but I think we should go as guests just so that I can experience it and I don't have to worry about it when I have to work my first shift. So we went as guests, and I was in line for a maze, and I saw him working as a security guard. We made eye contact, we smiled, and that pretty much happened. That's all that happened then. The following week at school, we saw each other again, which is crazy, and he went up to me and asked if he had seen me at Scary Farm, and I was like, yeah, and I actually work there too. So that's how we met. So we first saw each other at school, but Knott's Berry Farm was actually what helped us kind of spark conversation with one another, which is really cool. Okay, so this question is really fun. It is, what is the most magical thing to happen to you at Disney? I can't really think of anything magical that has happened to me directly, but my favorite thing that is very magical to experience, I am a pass holder, so I go 2 to 4 times a week sometimes, and I have had the privilege to see other people experiencing Disney, and that just warms my heart. For example, it is just the small things that you see, strangers enjoying themselves with their families, and that just makes it all so magical, and it makes my heart really happy. But I'll give an example of every time I go on Mater's Junkyard Jamboree and you see the families laughing, having a good time, because they don't realize how much fun that ride is. It doesn't look so intense, but once you're on it, it's a little bit more intense, and I don't think they realize how intense it is, and they're just having fun, giggling, and that just is so cute to me. So it's not a magical moment that's happened to me, but it's a magical moment that I get to see other people have, which is really cool. Next question is, what did you study in school, or how did you end up in your current career? I believe I mentioned it in one of my YouTube videos, and I have also mentioned it on my other social media platforms, but I am an instructional designer. I create training. The story of how I fell into that is kind of funny. I was working for a nonprofit organization. I was a lead facilitator for a workforce development program for high school students. So I was essentially preparing high school students for the workforce with training on soft skills. So things like communication, time management, all that fun stuff. And I really discovered that I had a passion for creating PowerPoints and curriculum. And at that time, I was also finishing up my bachelor's degree. And I had thought I wanted to be a teacher, but over time I realized that that's maybe not for me. And but I did have a passion for education. So I was like, what can I do with this? And since I learned about facilitation and training, I looked up roles, and I was like, let me do some more research. I stumbled upon instructional design, and I decided to get my master's in it. And I also was like, you know what, I graduated already. My parents are kind of asking me, like, what are you going to do for work? And I'm kind of just like, I worked a part-time job. So I was trying to figure that out. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and go back to school. So I started my master's program in instructional design. And while I was going through my graduate program, I got a job as a full-time trainer for in corporate. I was a professional development trainer. But again, I was focusing more on soft skills training and also doing the new hire orientation. And I realized quickly that I did not like facilitation in the corporate setting. I am a little bit more introverted and I get a little bit more nervous. I get a little in my head when I am training or doing public speaking. Public speaking is not my favorite thing in the world. I do struggle with that. I know it's really hard to believe because I do social media, but I'm talking to a camera or like people around me and I'm not really talking to a huge group, so it's a little bit different. But I had a really hard time with facilitation. I was constantly getting feedback from my manager that it was kind of exhausting. So once I got some experience there, I was almost graduating. I was maybe like a month away from graduating and I received an opportunity to work where I currently work as an instructional designer. And I've been there ever since. I've been there for like almost 2.5 years. And I really like creating training. It's a lot of fun. So in short, I started in facilitation / training and I got my master's degree in instructional design. And that's how I ended up becoming an instructional designer. All right, so the next question is, what is your earliest park memory? So I was 6 years old, so I was a little bit older, and my mom woke me up for school, and I just wasn't feeling like going to school. My mom knew that it wasn't like because I was sick or anything. She's just like, she needs a break from school. So she decided to say like, hey, you don't have to go to school today. We're going to do like a little mental health day. I'm going to take you to Disney. We had passes at the time. She took me to Disney, and California Adventure was fairly new because it opened in 2001, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I'll make sure to fact check myself. And I was 6 years old at the time, so it was fairly new. I loved roller coasters, Thunder Mountain, Space Mountain, all that stuff. And at that time, California Screamin' was, the fun thrill ride. And my mom was like, we were walking around the parks and she looks at me and she's like, do you want to go on it? And I was like a little bit nervous and a little hesitant. And I was like, yeah, let's go. And it was a lot of fun. That was my first time on that big roller coaster. So definitely a fond memory that I have. And like, it's really cool that my mom understood that I needed like just a break to have fun and not go to school during the week. So that's probably my earliest memory and definitely one of my fondest. Okay. What is your least favorite year-round food item in DCA and in Disneyland? So with a turkey leg, I think I've tried a turkey leg maybe once. It's not my favorite snack. I, respect if you like it. I'm never gonna yuck your yum, do your thing. Just not for me. I'm also very strange when it comes to eating meat off of a bone. If I catch anything fatty or if it tastes too much like chicken or turkey, anything like that, I'm just not into it. So I kind of stay away from turkey legs. They're not my favorite. I honestly will pretty much eat anything. So this was kind of hard for me because I was like thinking in my head, like, what kind of item would I not eat? Definitely a turkey leg. So there's that. And then someone said, congrats on 100 subbies. Which thank you so much. If you're one of them, thank you for being here again. What is your favorite Thanksgiving dish? My favorite Thanksgiving dish is green bean casserole. It's honestly so underrated, and I don't understand why as a kid I didn't like it. Maybe because it had green beans and mushrooms in it. But as an adult, that is the best dish. It is the most flavorful. It's just so good. And my mom makes it from scratch, and now I'm taking over that and I make it from scratch when I go over to my husband's side of the family for Thanksgiving. It's not as good as my mom's, but I'm working on it, and eventually I know it will be not as good, but better than it is now. But green bean casserole is top tier. Another one is, what app or program do you use to edit your IG videos? I currently use CapCut. It's pretty easy to use. I've never really had any issues with it. I really enjoy it. I think the features that it has for free are pretty good. So I definitely would say CapCut is what I use. Don't currently use any other ones, but if I find anything new or easy to use, I would definitely let y'all know. So this question, I really like this question. Do you ever do solo trips to Disneyland? So, really fun fact, when I started making content, I would do a lot of solo trips because I was unemployed for maybe 4 months in between jobs a few summers ago, and I was making content. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go to Disney. And I did a lot of solo trips, and I would record myself by myself, which is crazy for me to think now because I go to Disneyland with my husband all the time. And I'm always like, oh, like he's here with me, I'm recording, I don't feel as nervous. And to think that I was doing that by myself is crazy. But I'm really grateful that I tried that out. And solo trips are really good. If you've never had one and you're thinking about doing one, do it. Because the best thing is you're going to do whatever you want to do. You want to go on a certain ride, you don't have to ask anybody. You want to eat a certain snack, go eat the snack. You don't have to be like, oh, what are we going to eat? You satisfy whatever you want to do, and I think that's really fun. Biggest piece of advice for women in their 20s. I'm a month and a half away from entering my 30s. So I'm currently 29, so I feel like I can totally answer this question or give my personal advice. And it is honestly to do whatever the heck you want to do. And as hard as it is, don't let anyone else's judgment get to you, or your fear of others judging you for doing things that you love or want to do or say or be, because life is too short to live for others, and you got to do it for yourself. Do whatever the heck you want to do and be who you want to be, as long as you're kind, respectful, and you're not harming anybody. It's simple, but yet something I wish that I truly believed when I was in my early 20s, because they were rough and I struggled a lot with people pleasing and being who I wanted to be. But what you see is what you get for me. All right, so the next question I have is, how do you balance being at Disney all the time and spending time with friends and family? One of the things that I do is make plans in advance with my friends, which is why they'll jokingly say like it is impossible to make plans with me, because I book months in advance. It is not because I'm like, oh, so special, I have things to do. No, it's because I want to make sure that I'm giving time to everybody. Also, another thing is that I have convinced many of my friends and family members to get Magic Keys. So oftentimes I'll make plans with them at Disney, and that makes it a little bit easier too, because they're all super supportive of me and Richie, my husband, making content. So it's really cool that they'll be like, all right, if you need to make a video, like go for it. And then they'll just hang out and just kind of watch us do our thing, and then we'll be back with them. Or sometimes I'll make sure to let them know like, hey, I'm not going to make any content this time because I want to give all of my time and attention to you. So one thing that helps is a lot of them have Magic Keys, so I get to spend a lot of time with them at Disney, which makes me even happier. All right, how or when did your love for going to Disneyland begin? It began very young because I did grow up in Orange County, which is also a question I believe someone asked if I grew up in the OC, and I sure did. I grew up in Orange County, and I also loved Disney movies and shows. So growing up, that was a big part of my life. We had like all the VHS, and my parents always took us to Disney. We had passes growing up. So, all right, I think that's all the questions I have to answer today. I didn't get too many of them. A lot of them were like repetitive or very similar. So I answered all the ones that I could. I'm just really excited to be sharing like more information. I often do Q&As on Instagram, but they are a little bit more difficult to say everything that I want to say. And then here on YouTube, it's like a little bit more engaging and fun because I can share a little bit more of like backstories and things like that. So yeah, thank you for being here. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. It feels so weird to say that because I would jokingly say that, like, subscribe to my channel, and now it's something that I have, so it's pretty cool. And thank you for 100 subscribers. I think that's really awesome that 100 of you guys think I'm worthy enough to subscribe to. Yeah. I don't know what else I'm gonna say. I'm just yapping along, but thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next week.